I'm super pumped about tonight's call because Chris has an amazing message to share with us. And Chris and I have actually never met, but a mutual friend, Katie Ersta, hooked us up because she thought Chris's message would really resonate well with our team, with our goals, what everyone's trying to achieve here in our push group together. And I was super stoked that Chris agreed to speak for us as well. So like I shared in the group already, Chris works full-time. She has a full-time professional job with the federal government. So she understands busy. Her husband is getting his PhD and works full-time. She has 2 young boys. And she was in the Portion Fix test group, which is super cool too. Hopefully she'll share a little bit of that within talking to us, or you guys can pick her brain at the end with questions if you guys have any questions about that. But Chris is a Lifetime 1-Star Diamond, and she's going to share with us tonight about, how to stop believing all the lies we all tell ourselves about why we can't succeed in this business, whether it's busyness or whatever you tell yourself as to why you can't succeed. Chris is going to talk us through that tonight and how she overcame that and how we can all overcome that too. So Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you have the floor.
Okay, this is super exciting. Hi, everybody. Okay, there, I'm all comfortable now. I have to be in here and not in my office because my kids we mentioned it before, but we're not at a steady point right now with the kids to make sure they're asleep and they can hear me at the bottom of the stairs. So you're like, okay, mobile office, move, here we go. And I love that I see a bunch of people laughing and nodding because you all get it too. Yes, yeah, we've all been here. So thank you so much, Abby. Thank you for that introduction. I really appreciate it. Just to give a little bit more background. So my name is Chris Parrott. I am the founder of Team Busy Fit, and I am a personally sponsored coach of Melanie Mitro, if you guys know her. I am a Lifetime 1-Star. We're going to talk about that in just a second, about how that happened, because that's a fun story in overcoming all of this. And we like to talk about it as a fit-ish coach. I get really excited. I talk with my, yeah, if you guys know her, sorry. Yeah, too funny. I'm sorry. So I get really excited. I talk with my hands a lot. Abby, you said I can push some slides here. I did some slides up for you guys so you guys can see this. Yes, Melanie is amazing, and she's just fantastic. So, all right. So let me push this into presentation mode. Can everybody see it okay? Quick thumbs up. Okay, good. I have to remember that you can still see me, but half the time I can't see you guys on this. Click around here. Okay, so the lies you tell yourself. Here we go. So here is my original story. So just so you guys understand, I have been a coach for just over 3 years. I have been part of Beachbody for a really long time. Like, I have the original Tony Horton Power 90, like way back in the day. I've had great results with, I could always work out, and I didn't have a problem with that. My problem has always been nutrition, which I think a lot of us can understand. And I finally, when the Portion Fix, 21-Day Fix came out 5 years ago, I bought it. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, whatever. I had this amazing transformation story with it. It just stuck. Like, it just made sense to me. You told me I could have my wine. I was like, yes, all right, I can do this. And I remember thinking, you know what, I'm doing this. I'm following the program. Everything's great. I'm having these great results. I hit 70 pounds. It was fantastic. And so it was the first time in my adult life that I just really felt like I had my depression, my anxiety, all the things that so many of us suffer from. I felt like I had them under control, and it was really great. I had a team that was just, they were rising. We were doing great. I felt on top of the world with my career. All of these things were going great. And everybody's like, yeah, all right, great. A feel-good story. And then, you know what? I wasn't. Last year I had some undiagnosed health problems where, and honestly, we still to this day don't know what it was. I was having some struggles with work. I ended up in a kind of a hostile, toxic kind of situation that I couldn't get out of. My team fell apart. If you guys, for coaching, my team fell apart, and it was back. My depression was back, probably worse than I've known it in years. My anxiety was through the roof. And then all of this program that had done so much for me was just that. It was a program, and I I couldn't follow it. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't mentally strong enough to follow it anymore. And so on came the weight again. And so that amazing 70-pound story, I ended up gaining 50 of those pounds back last year, and it was so hard. But I want to tell you something in all of that, is that in all of that, I never stopped being a coach. I will say I was not in love with my challenge groups. I was not in love with being a leader. I was not in love with a lot of it, but I never canceled. Like, for some reason, I just kept going, and I just needed, I couldn't give up on that. Beachbody was like that one thing that still was always positive, and, and still had the friends and still had people just there for me. Like, we just have a really amazing group of people in a team, and I just couldn't let that go out of my life. So I wasn't ready to cancel. And I was sitting on my couch last November, and I had fallen back to Emerald, and I was a diamond at that point. I had fallen back to Emerald, and I remember all of these people always talking about when they have this moment where they just decide to go do something. And I honestly would always just roll my eyes and be like, it's not that easy. You can't just decide to go do something and then make it happen. You have to, and then I'd get all in my head and I'd overthink it and everything. Well, I'm going to tell you something. It really is that easy, because I was sitting on my couch last November looking at my vision board. And this last November, it was the week before, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And I was sitting on the couch, and I looked at my husband, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was looking at my vision board. New Leader Conference was on it. And I just looked at it, and I wanted to start crying. Part of me wanted to start crying, because that was another dream that was going down the toilet. I certainly wasn't going to be in a bikini by my 40th birthday, which was coming up in December. My whole vision board was just like, I wanted to say it was demoralizing at the time, but instead it just hit me like a ton of bricks, where I looked at my husband and I said, I'm going 1-star diamond, and I'm going to New Leader Conference. And he just looks at me, and I don't know about your guys' spouses. Mine's great. And like a pat you on the head. This is really great. I'm glad you like it type of way. But he knew it was important to me, and he knew I needed to do it. And he was like, okay, what do you need to do? And I'm like, for the next week, it's going to be really intense for the next week. And it was, and I got to work, and I went from Emerald to 1-star diamond. I didn't tell Mel. I actually called her, it was like 9:30 on Wednesday night before you had to go into qualifications, to end the year at 1-star, so that you would be eligible for New Leader Conference. And I call her, and I'm like, oh my God, did I do it? And I didn't even tell her I was doing it. And she was like, oh my God, you did do it. Holy, what, and because I'd been off the radar and struggling so much, it was like, she wasn't expecting that from me. And I honestly didn't tell her, because I didn't want to fail at one more thing. But at that time I was like, I'm going to do it. We're just going to do it. And so so many things started to happen after that, after New Leader Conference. And so then my 40th birthday, Ultimate Portion Fix was accepting people for their test group, and I got selected. I've never been selected in all the years that I've been doing Beachbody stuff. I've never been selected for a coach test group, and I got selected for this one, which I thought was so amazing, because I had just taken the time. I had sat down and said, you know what? I know the fix. I know the portion control containers. I can do this. I'm going to do this. And I had already resolved that I maybe in a couple weeks, like when the qualifications were done, because I'm going to tell you right now, everybody, please, if you're going for a rank goal, do it now. Don't do it at the end of the year when it's during the holidays, when you're trying to keep everybody motivated, because that was crazy and insane. But you did it. All right. So I did it. And Ultimate Portion Fix Test Group had come up, and the stars were just kind of finally starting to align. And, that program, like I said, I had already resolved that I was going to start it again. And I was going to lead a bunch of people that, we were all going to get rejuvenated. And this came around, and it was, I need to update the slides, because that slide says down 14.4 pounds. We did 2 full rounds of Ultimate Portion Fix. I lost 17 pounds doing it. And we could talk about Ultimate Portion Fix. I'm not sure if this is if everybody's getting in on the Ultimate Portion Fix group or not. You guys can ask all the questions you want when we're done, but I'll tell you what, the difference is that mindset and that change and what you're learning and how you're learning it and how you're learning to fuel and feed your body. So it was amazing. And during this time, I want, the reason that we get on here is like, because I got more honest with myself than I think I've ever been. We kind of blow ourselves up. We kind of inflate ourselves. It's kind of like our containers in those, like the blue container and the yellow container. We underestimate on those, or we underestimate on those and we overestimate on the veggies that we're eating. We kind of do the same thing with our success and like, what are we really doing? What are we really tracking? Right. And so I had to sit back and get really honest with myself. And I don't think that we do this a lot. For many reasons, maybe it's our ego, maybe it's, we just don't want to face what it is that we want to face in order to be successful, or whatever those barriers are. But I'll tell you what, in that period, I tracked more, I invited more, and I invested more than I probably did in all of 2018 and into 2017. And I tell you this because, a couple of the things that I came up with, and I'm sharing them with you tonight because it was the most freeing feeling in the whole entire world. I learned, by the way, that I was doing something, and of course there's some lady already doing it. The Marie Kondo, I think, the cleaning, the lady that comes through and cleans with all of your joy. Well, I didn't know she existed because I was sitting there and I made the decision to stop collecting everything. How many times do you guys, I deleted 17,258 emails without blinking an eye, just gone, because I didn't need that. I was never going to get to it. I kept looking behind me, thinking I was going to get to those things, and it was clouding up my judgment to move forward. And so it's the same thing with those Facebook posts. I had 273 of them saved because I was going to do them later. How many of you guys have done that and you just you go through and you save a Facebook post or you save an Instagram post for later? You're going to watch a YouTube video later, and everything you're going to do is later. And it's clouding up your future and your future thinking because you're always going to look back. Guys, at the rate social media changes, if you haven't used it in the last week or two, get rid of it. It's clouding up everything else that you're doing and you're not thinking forward for your business. And here's another thing that I really stopped collecting, and I had to really bite my tongue to realize I stopped collecting everybody else's products. So in our team, we have a huge team page that we share everything. And so somebody will say, hey, what's working for you guys? Or what's going on with this? And I never asked the question, but as soon as somebody posted it, I sure as heck would save it, thinking I was going to use it for later. And then I realized something. They had taken the time, the person asking was taking that time to figure out what their business needed. And everybody else was jumping on it to just do it because it sounded like a good idea, which you can get the good ideas from, but I was just collecting. I wasn't utilizing it for me. And so I had to start thinking what, if I'm collecting all of this stuff and I'm looking behind me, I am not thinking forward to what my audience needs. What does my audience need to hear? And so I started asking a lot of questions. And like I said, I got brutally honest with myself. Where was I really at rank wise? Where was I at really with inviting? Was I inviting on par? I wasn't even inviting on par with something that should have been a strong diamond, to be honest with you. And yet we put on our vision board that we have these goals for elite, or we have these goals for, if you want to be a superstar diamond. Are your actions matching your efforts? And that was really hard for me, for having such a successful career during the day. Why wasn't I being successful with this? And so once I started doing that and I started understanding me a little bit better, I was able to start helping and understanding the challengers as well. And so I started asking my team, what did they need? I started asking my challengers, what do you need? Because I'm not a mind reader. And when we're virtual, that gets really hard because you don't know what this barrier is and what the rest of life is for people when a majority of your business is virtual. So you have to ask them. You ask and you ask and you ask some more, and you just get really curious. So when they ask a question, and even if it's negative and it's coming back off-putting, which I would get really offended, did I do something wrong, before? I just ask another question. I'm tell me about, what's going on. And I would just keep getting more and more curious so I could understand where they were coming from. And so asking those questions helped me to understand I'm not perfect at it yet, but I'm getting so much better. And it's like that light bulb went off that I needed to know that about people. The other thing I needed to stop doing was comparing myself. And we'll talk about R in just a second. I've got a whole slide on R, and people are like, what? And it's not the pirate R. If you see that, it's A-R-E. But I think a lot of us can identify with the imposter syndrome. For me, with my binge eating, with my depression, like, who was I? For the longest time, I struggled with, who am I to be a coach? Like, who am I to lead? I don't look like a coach, and especially when I went through the weight gain again, and I'm asking you to follow me and sign up with me. I'm basically saying, do as I say, not as I do. And it felt really, compared to so many other coaches that were having these amazing results, and then they were getting their people to have amazing results, I felt like an imposter. I felt like I didn't even belong there. To be honest with you, I didn't feel like I even belonged at NLC, because I grew my husband's account. I grew my husband's account to Diamond. And you know what I realized once I got there, which is what also helped me start realizing that your imposter syndrome is kind of a dumb thing and you just really need to get it out of your head, is nobody at NLC cares how you got to NLC. Once you get that invite to a New Leader Conference, you've earned your right to be there. And that's all they care about. Like, you fought that battle for that first level, and you deserve to be there. And it was such an amazing realization that you could throw things like imposter syndrome out the window, because if you're still here and you're still showing up, you deserve to be there. We talked about stop looking behind. I stopped overcomplicating everything. How many times have I said, you sit down to a project, or you sit down to a product launch, or you sit down to anything, just even launching a challenge group, and you're like, suddenly you've squirreled, you've got 50 things that you need to do, you freeze, you don't even know how to do the first one. I just got it really simple. Like, how I'm tracking my coaches and challengers now, how I'm tracking the progress. Like, I don't need something big and fancy. And if you guys want, I don't know what you guys use to track. If it's working for you, that's fantastic. If it is not working for you, then listen to me for a second. In that, I got rid of Teamzy. I got rid of like all of the groups and the push groups and everything else that you're paying all this money into, because every single time, instead of working on my business and focusing on my business, I'm going into there to check into there and to learn. And I wasn't working on my business, which was the message I needed to be giving to my people. So I cut all of that out, all of it. So we're talking, there was a lot of groups that I didn't realize they kind of creep into you. They kind of creep into your life. And I didn't realize, A, how much money I was spending, and B, how much time I was spending in these groups and not on myself, my team, or my future team. And so I got rid of all of them. I don't know if I have some references at the end here, but I don't know if you guys have seen the book Rise Up from Moira Kosava. She's fantastic. She's done a lot with our team in the past. It's pen and paper. And I love it because the pen and paper, like that brain, the writing it down and that muscle memory there has been really helpful for me to keep it all organized. And then I just went to a really simple spreadsheet for all my for all my challengers to be checking in and making sure, because I had like all these great intentions to be able to help Susie get to her, goal weight by her wedding, or to, for Jane to be going on her vacation and to be able to hit her that goal. But I was living out of my Facebook Messenger, or out of like, I was losing track of them. And so with all of the best intentions, I was losing my people, because I didn't have a simple, I was overcomplicating the process. And so once I got it really simple, and I just like a lot of pen and paper and a lot of check marks again, some people are like, oh my God, I'm technology, I can't do this, but I needed paper again. Like, that's just what I needed. And the other thing I stopped was letting my mean girl out. That girl, and she resides inside of you deep down somewhere. Some of you might not struggle with this, so you don't know, but that mean girl that says, why are you coaching? You're never going to rank advance. You're never going to grow a team. Why do you think you can be an elite team? Like, all of those little things, and the doubts and the nagging and the why you should do this. I stopped letting her out. I don't know my audience, so I will keep it clean, but I told her there was a big F word out there, and that's where I told her to go, and she got to F off, and that's what she did. And I've got a great reference for you guys later at the end, a really great book. I'm not always about personal development as consistently, like with the books. I love audio and I can do the podcast all day, but to get through a book, is kind of a struggle sometimes for me, but I've got a couple really good ones that have just hit home for me that I went, oh my God, and I wanted to share them with you. And I started doing, so I talked to you guys about working from a list and tracking my stuff. And the minute you say later, so I talked about deleting Facebook, I talked about deleting all of the Gmail and or all the emails and everything that I'd had. The minute you say later, I want you to stop, go to Google, because you guys can see this in the background, I think, where it says Google is your friend. Google is your friend, and I repeat it like 15 times, because there is nothing that you can't do in this business that you can't look and say, hey, Google, how do I do this? And you can figure it out for yourself. You want to learn how to do a drip campaign in MailChimp, go to Google and come up. If you want to learn how to put a video up on YouTube, Instagram stories, you name it, all of it is out there. You want to learn how to be a recruiter, you want to learn how to talk to people better, get better connected. All of these things are out there on Google for you. So really what it's telling you is to stop waiting for permission from whoever your upline is. Stop waiting for permission from what every other coach is doing, and focus on what you need for your voice, for your people, your team, and your future team. And that's the minute you can make that break and start really owning and having ownership for your team and for your brand, amazing things are going to happen for you. And so one of the things, one of the practices I've gotten into is a brain dump. And I do it at least weekly. There's sometimes I need it more than once. And I've got sticky notes all over my office. Maybe that's the other reason I'm not in there, is because we've got the sticky notes of all different sizes and colors in there. But I just, if I'm having the idea, I don't keep it in my head. I just write it down. Even if it's rough and I don't get to it right away, I can see it. And I started like forming that thought, and I can put more meat behind it, and I can revisit it because I've already put that in motion. I've already started it in motion. It might not be the right time, but it's in motion. And you know what I do? I repeat. I repeat my actions. I repeat the brain dumps. I repeat the tracking. I repeat the lists. I look at them. I don't just write them down and go. You have to look back on it. And I think that's really, really important. If you're struggling or wherever you're at with whatever goal you're trying to get to, this is these actions, these simple actions that you might be like, some of you are like, oh yeah, duh. And some of you are going, oh my gosh, yes, it's exactly what I need to do. So for those of you that have struggled with your mindset or anxiety or depression or any sort of mental awareness, illness issues that you've had, the word are, and I realized it one day when one of my coaches came to me and she was like, I'm such a hot mess. And we used to joke around about it. Like, how many times have we all said a hot mess? But at the same time, every time we tell ourselves that we are a hot mess, we are busy, we are too busy, we're just whatever it is that we are, we may say it jokingly, but deep down rooted, we really do believe it. And so every time you say that you are busy, I've had to stop myself. And Busy Does Fit is the name of my team. But we've done that for a reason, because busy fits into your life. It is just a way of life. And so when you say you are too busy, then you know what? You are too busy. If you are a hot mess, you are a hot mess. So you can take whatever you are. And instead I've started talking about myself in ways that I am like a regular habit person, and I am proud of that. But at the same time, I am going to go to happy hour and I am going to enjoy this stuff. So I'm embracing what is me, the good parts of me, and not letting the R out. And everybody likes that because I always go R, and it gets their attention for a pirate. But just really start thinking, the point of it is to really start thinking of your mindset, and how you talk to yourself and how you let your coaches talk to themselves when you are in any sort of conversation. And it's the same thing for your challengers too. And really getting them to break free of that. When they started breaking free of that, they started breaking free of a lot of other nutritional barriers that they were having as well. And they didn't even realize it. So I talked about tracking your shiz. And looking at what's behind it, like in the background there. Whoa, Beachbody actually gives you something. It's called the Business Activity Tracker. I don't know how many of you know that. I knew what it was. I never used it. I'll be honest. So like when you get really honest with yourself, you go, hey, maybe when I'm going to make it really simple, if the company's already given us a product, maybe you should try using it. It's amazing what happens when you try using it, because all of a sudden you weren't getting as many posts out during the day. You weren't getting all of the invites that you needed to. You weren't getting all of your stories, and you weren't getting your personal development in 10 minutes a day. Like that's what I'll share with you guys in a minute, like what we've done for our team and coming back there. But whatever it is that you have a goal for, you need to be tracking it however you want it, and some sort of tracker. Canva has been my best friend. They are probably like, what has just happened to you, girl? Because you have blown up your usage this past year, because I've got trackers for everything. And my poor kids, actually, they think it's amazing too, because my kids have trackers now too. And they've got little goal boards. Like every month we were putting it up, and they've got their little goal boards of the things they want to be working on. And they've got their vision board, and we've done it all. And so if my challengers have a goal, they have a goal board. If they, they're tracking it, our income, our budget, a lot of things that we wanted to do to get ourselves out of debt, you name it. Like we had to be tracking it. So we had some sort of measure of progress. So don't guesstimate it, and don't sit there and wonder in a couple of months, because none of you are going to do this, because you're all going to go out right after this is done and start tracking and doing all the things that you're supposed to. And Abby and Meg are going to be super happy about all of this. But in case it happens that you get towards the end of the year and you can't figure out why you're missing a goal, ask yourself if you've tracked it. Have you been tracking it? Do you have a way to analyze and measure your results? Don't let it live in your brain. It gets to be a very scary and mushy place up there. And it's flabby, and those ideas never come out. So when I came back from New Leader Conference, I had seen this at New Leader Conference, and I went, whoa, I've never seen this before. And I don't know if you guys have seen it too, but the annual calendar for release and everything else for Beachbody, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I'm like, but I need to break it down further. Like, hold on a second. And I got back. I had severe jet lag. So I live in Virginia, and LC is in California. I had really bad jet lag. And so I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning going, I know what our team needs, and we've now first page Canva, we keep it simple. And then we talked about breaking down what we have to do annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly. And then we have a win the morning, and we have a win the business week. And these are the activities that we do. Cause I was getting lost in like, did I check the back office? Did I check messages? Did I follow up on social media posts? Have I missed a comment? So every morning we do the win the morning, which before anything is taking care of you first. You can't, people have said this before, and I was like, okay, whatever. Now I got to get to inviting, and I didn't ever stop to take the time to feed myself. And so I wake up and I have a gratitude practice. It's a really great 2-minute journal. I love it. Every single morning I just write what I'm going to let go, what I'm thankful for, and what I'm going to focus on. 2 minutes and it's done. I count it as 5 in my morning practice. And then I work on 10 minutes of reading of whatever it is I'm reading. And so I just got to read something. And then even before my workout, before anything, I've followed 10, I've commented 5, and I've invited at least 3 for the day. That's my minimum. And so then it's done. And I have got it down to, this is a 30-minute morning. Like, this is a power 30 minutes. And I can do this, and then I can work out. And so that's my power hour for the day. And you guys all know I work during the day. So when I have to shut it off, I have to shut it off. I don't even have my phone with me during the day. So if anybody says, oh, well, I'm struggling to build a career, I'm struggling to build a coaching business because I work during the day, or I can't be on social media, or I can't be on the phone, it's fine, because guys, guess what? Your audience is not on there either. They're probably working as well. So they're probably not on social media during the day. So don't let that be a barrier for you in getting your business out. I'm actually more productive when I do this than when I'm getting to work from home all day long. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to go do the dishes. And now I'm going to come back and do something. And okay, I'm going to do the laundry, and I'm going to come back and do something. When I have to be focused on my day. So I've got my morning hour. I have about a half an hour after my workout to get some things done. So I'll kind of post and like do my social media there of what I have planned out, and fill in any gaps that I need to do. And then I come home at night. My time is with my kids and with my family. So I try not to be the one that is sitting there on my phone because I don't want my kids to be reminded of, or remember me like that. Like, that's not what our time is supposed to be. I have enough working mom guilt. I don't need to have working mom, coach mom guilt as well. And so we have segmented pockets of time. And then at night, after they've gone to bed, is when my business comes back out again. And that will be, depending on the week, it'll be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And then I'm back up at it again the next day. And all of this is all planned out. Once I got planned out and worked from a list, amazing things happen. Go figure. You're tracking it. You've got some results. And you guys can read through that, Win the Business Week, all of that stuff. I see a whole bunch of comments coming in, and I will read them in just a second when we get done with this, if that's okay. Or do you guys prefer that we take them during the call? Nope. Okay. Yep. Keep going. All right. So what I did on top of that, it's not just win the day. We plan the entire year. I don't know if you guys have read 12-week year or not, but you guys, I started planning each quarter out so that our team can look and say, oh, surprise. There are no surprises. If you make a rank or if you don't make a rank, there's going to be no more surprises on a product launch. Because doesn't July seem like ages away? And you're like, whoa, wow. You know what, we're looking at the next quarter that's already into June. So we've got to be looking at all of that right now. And it's got, when just whatever it is that we need, when we're going to have Super Saturday, so people can stop, not say that they didn't know, because there's a lot of information coming at you, because it comes at you from, the team page and probably a bigger team page and 411 and the champions and the back office and YouTube and Facebook and every place else that you're supposed to be going, and the 50 million coaches. That is one thing I didn't share earlier when I said stop collecting. I stopped collecting coaches too that I follow. I unfollowed almost every Beachbody coach, unless they were. There's a few that are still very influential to me without being overwhelming. But I unfollowed like almost every Beachbody coach, and I just needed to. There's a few people like Christina Delgado who just has. I just want to count the margaritas that she's had because I'm just like jealous and in love with that, so I follow her still because it's just fun and I enjoy it, but I'm not looking at everybody else. I'm not looking left and right and behind me of all of the coaches or like my peer coaches that I grew up with and what they're doing, because we don't have the same audience and I don't need to know what they're doing. If I need to know what they're doing, I purposely can go and check their page, or I check their page because I want to see how they're doing because they're friends of mine. Like, that's what we do. But when it comes to business, I was having 30 coaches in my feed before I ever even got to anybody that was like my team or my challengers or my future challengers. And that was just like, I need to do something. I need to change that. And then here is our Win the Month. And, we got on a very good plan of what we talk about each week and what we do for calls and when there's going to be launches or anything. And so we've got like our monthly Success Club prize and stuff that we do, because I like giving out prizes. Some teams don't, or some teams like to do this, or their love language is, something else. And it's a caring thought or a gesture or whatever it is. Know what your people love and are motivated by. And that, you've got to learn that. That's a leadership lesson that took a while for me to learn. But Aloha Beaches is actually the name of our VIP, like our on-running group in the app. And I have one of these, and all of my people are like, I want one. Where do I get it? And I'm like, hit Success Club and I'll get it for you. And that like really just, it's fun like that. So this is what I wanted to share with you guys. A couple of the resources that have just been really influential for me. So I talked to you guys about the 2-minute gratitude practice in the morning. And this book is just amazing. I've got links to all of them right there. Rise Up, I told you about Myra's book. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's all the things. It's every tracker that you've ever needed all in one. And I love it because it can be for any business, but it was really developed with us in mind. And if you guys haven't seen it, it helps you focus on your goals and then revisit your goals throughout the year. Because a lot of times you'll put things on a vision board and you're like, see ya, peace. I don't see the vision board again until January or until December when you're dusting it off and want to do it again. Nope, you're revisiting it every single month. 2 podcasts that I love listening to. Yes, Melanie Mitro's Women Inspiring Women is fantastic. And then Keisha Fitzgerald, if you guys haven't heard her, or if you don't know her, who she is as a coach, she is so full of energy that if you ever need a boost, like she's just, it's infectious. And I binge listen to her. And I came back from NLC listening to her, and I'm all caught up already. Like, that's how much we listen to her podcast. Business Boutique from Christy Wright. If you guys know Dave Ramsey and that family, she is under there. She is specifically for women business builders and starting business. And I love that she just gives you a blueprint and it's not Beachbody specific. Like, you have to develop it for yourself. So you really have to think for yourself. And I think that was a really great book. And it's one that I've had my coaches start getting to start their business. When I was looking, my word of the year is clarity. And when I was looking up clarity and I Googled that, the first thing that came up was High Performance Habits from Brendon Burchard. And I was like, oh, okay. So if you don't read anything else in that book, 2 things: read the chapter on clarity, because I'm going to blow your mind on that. And 2, there's a free assessment that you can take. So if you're really looking to be honest with yourself, go take his assessment to see where your strengths and weaknesses lie. And don't use that to demotivate you. Use that to motivate you so that you can see your progress and how that's going to turn out. If you're struggling with leadership like I was, I have no idea how I got to be in such a senior position with the government. And I am scared to death of leadership, because what Beachbody is pure. It's like the purest and best form of leadership. And what I work in is like micromanaging supervisors. And so that was kind of like it wasn't a really great, I've had some great leaders, but a lot of times supervisors and leaders don't mean the same thing. And so I was struggling to grasp like what that meant as an entrepreneur. And so Dare to Lead from Brene Brown was fantastic. And this last one is a recommendation from Amy Rada, which was Mastering Your Mean Girl. And again, anybody that struggles with any sort of emotional issues, this was a really great book. Great read here. And so whatever, I'm going to leave you guys with this, and we'll go to any questions that you have. But to wrap this up is, whatever your vision, dream, and goal is, I'm going to challenge you all to double it. Just double it. If it's 1 star, you're dreaming too small. If it's 5 star, you're dreaming too small. 15 star, double whatever your goal is for this year. If it's an income goal, you can go higher. You can go, and you can do this. And every single time that you don't want to get up in the morning, guess where I want to be in the future? Take a look at this. And so every time I don't want to get up when that alarm goes off at 4:30 in the morning, I have to tell myself I'm going to do it anyway. Every time I do a workout, every time I don't want to invite, every time I don't want to stay up past 9:30, I have to tell myself that you're going to do it anyway, because you are working towards a higher goal that is more than just you. And that as you grow and develop a team, there's more people that rely on you for it, and more people, and you pay it forward. And so you have to show up, just not even just for yourself, for your kids, for your family, for your team, for your challengers, for all of the people. And if that scares you, you need to start digging deeper and thinking deeper into yourselves about why you are doing this, and come up with a stronger why. So that is, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Okay, is everybody still awake?
Chris, yes, everybody's awake. Everybody was shouting out the whole time, relating to you and loving on it. So I absolutely love that. Honestly, it was so well crafted, from like your story to, debunking things, to action items, to resources. We super appreciate all that. What questions do you guys have for Chris? Do you guys have any questions?
Oh, I have a soulmate in here. I'm reading all of these. I'm excited.
Megan has her hands up in the air. You can locate her there. Any questions, guys, or do you all just relate so much? That's everything I was reading the whole time, was just like, you're in their heads, which is awesome. Do you guys have any questions also about Ultimate Portion Fix while we're thinking about that? Feel free to put those in there as well. And while questions are starting, if you guys have any, I'll ask a question. So I didn't tell you this, I don't think, in advance, Chris, but this group of people here, all people who are Emerald and above, pushing for Diamond or Star Diamond in their business. So this is a group of people who, a lot of them I know could relate to your story of either, have been in the business for even a while, some of them, and just feel stuck there, or those who have built and lost it and felt like they couldn't get it back. So I know you are just speaking their language, just so you know that. But one thing we've been asking people as they got on, and you kind of shared a little bit, but when you originally hit Diamond, is there anything that you did to get there? How did you build to Diamond?
So I went like probably a month after I signed up, I went Emerald really quick, and I had my mom on one side and my husband on the other. And then I'd start converting all of my challengers every month. Guys, I say I started converting all of my challengers. I was so terrible at this, at tracking all of my customers, and I would miss I'm like, I know there's Shakeology dates coming up. I should probably go check on that. And of course I'd go and check, and it just shipped that day. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll get you next month. And like, just all the things. If you want a roadmap of a coach that is still here, that is moving, but has probably done just about everything wrong, go ahead and ask me, because I've done it. But I'm still here. I'm still growing. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay if you've done that in the past. Now you're like, okay, Chris told me to track it, so I need to start tracking it better. So now I've got a list of like when you signed up, and I have you all in order, and lots of highlighters and stuff like that. So I would just start converting everybody. I have a lot of military people, so the military discount, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. And then I put a couple of people, my mom was completely supportive. I'm very fortunate. Not everybody is fortunate enough to have family members that are so supportive of it. I did find out at New Leader Conference, they said that if you have a situation that doesn't fit into the people that can be your sponsored accounts, to contact compliance and tell them like what your situation is, who you want and why you want, and they will review it on a case-by-case basis, because I have a coach that's in that situation that she doesn't have any parents, she doesn't have a spouse, she doesn't have anybody that she can have that. And so we're working on getting her a couple sponsored accounts outside of the parameters that they have set. And so Diamond just kept being, it took me forever. Diamond was a very big barrier for me. It was a mental obstacle, and I look back on it now and I don't know why. I don't know why it was so hard to pop 2 emeralds under my mom and 2 emeralds under my husband, and to just sign those people up. Like but it was, and I shouldn't even say 2 emeralds because now, but you know what I mean? Like I look back on it, and it was a big barrier for me, and it shouldn't have been.
I love that you just shared that, because I think that that's the thing for so many people. We look at Diamond and it just seems like such a big thing that's so far away and like so unattainable. And then you hit it and you look back at yourself and you say, why didn't I enroll those 2 coaches like 6 months ago? Why didn't I do that? And it's just like you said. So I'm so glad you shared that. And exactly what you said, guys, about, it's how we all build to Diamond. And I think we all get it out of our heads sometimes that we think other people are unicorns and have everybody else signing up to be business builders from day one. But when you're starting your business, building to Diamond, even to 2-star, it is small numbers of business builders, usually to the ratio of challengers who converted to coaches for a discount after they fell in love with the products, or challengers who became coaches who were still slow starters in sharing products because they were still on their journey, or people just signing up from day one as a coach for the discount. That is how most of us build so many coaches to Diamond in the beginning. So I love that you shared all of that, Chris. And she shared, don't forget, guys, about Star Diamond. She built her husband. And what I thought you were going to say about New Leader Conference, because it was my experience when I went there years back, was that I thought, oh, I'm probably the only one that built my spouse to Diamond or whatever. And then you look around and it's actually 80% of the people there have built their spouse to Diamond as well, because that's how we start a brand new business, guys. We all built this from nothing, and we're building a business. It takes a lot of you in the beginning. So thanks for sharing that. And then the other question we like to ask people is, what are you currently doing right now for recruiting that is working for you? Is it mainly still your challengers becoming coaches, or how are you currently recruiting?
So I took a step back when I was doing Ultimate Portion Fix, and I was kind of figuring everything out. Not that I recommend everybody to take a step back, but if you are in that, if you are going through the cycle of what I just said, of everything that I had to do about being really honest with myself. And so I had about a month and a half that I didn't recruit anybody. I just had to figure out what I wanted to recruit or who I wanted to recruit, what I wanted my voice to be. And I started recruiting. I went back first and I messaged everybody that was a challenger, had been a challenger in the last 6 months. And I started asking them, are you interested? I stopped assuming for everybody that the opportunity wasn't for them. And I just started asking, and I started getting really okay with no's. I mean, nobody wants to hear no, but if you're going to survive in this business, you're going to have to get strong enough to hear no. And so I started with that. I started getting really heavy on my following, growing my following on Instagram and focusing a lot there. Like that, I'm doing all my recruiting either for challenge groups or for coaching there on Instagram in my stories. I've started doing some call to actions again, but for the most part, and then but anytime I do a coaching post, I do go after those people that have either liked, not just commented or not just said, yeah, I'm really interested, because the people are not just ever going to come to you. Like there's a level of being aggressive that you need to go after those people. So if they're liking your comment, or if they're liking your posts, if they're liking your stories, if they're seeing your stories and they're popping up every single day, they're obviously coming back. Engage them, talk to them. It doesn't have to be business related or business related at first, because just because you're seeing that you love that, you love it. You're like, you have the coach factor. I feel it in you. You need to build that relationship first. So that's really working for me, is to start those conversations and just straight up ask people. Don't assume for them.
I love that. It's so important to not assume anything for anyone, because we're literally stealing this opportunity from them. Everything that it's done for each of us in our lives, we're stealing that opportunity from others when we assume that they're not interested in doing what we do. And I love, just absolutely, guys, we have to ask everybody. I think about how many of you listen to the National Wake Up Call this week with Ashley Laughlin. And the one thing that she said that stood out to me so much was she talked about how she did not like or comment on any coach's posts for a long time because she didn't want anybody to message her and talk about it. She was just like creeping on everybody, seeing what it was about, seeing if she thought she could do it too. Now, how many people are out there in your audience right now doing the same thing? Creeping on your posts, not hitting the like button, not hitting the comment button, which is why it's so important for us to reach out to our whole follower base, to our whole friend base, even when they're not interacting, because they are watching. They absolutely are watching, and we have to not assume that they don't want to be involved. So I love that. Any other questions, guys? This was amazing.
Yay. One tip I do want to give that I don't have on my tracker for everybody that I started doing recently. And so it's really great to connect with new people, but I've started adding that I'm going to go back and reconnect. So I want to make sure that I don't lose that conversation. So at least 10 people every day, I'm just messaging like, hey, what's going on? Or I was thinking of you, and re-engaging that conversation. So it's not just to connect with the person, it's to keep that connection going. And I started doing that, and that feels good, so that when you do come around for the ask, you're not just coming around from the initial time you said hi to like, hey, join my challenge group. And so keeping that connection's been really, I like that. That feels good.
That's a great tip. Awesome. Well, I don't see any other questions here, but we so appreciate your time, Chris. Thank you for your vulnerability, sharing your story with us, just being so open and real and honest, because just like in our journeys that we share on social media, that's what coaches relate to, as well as when we're honest. So thank you so much for sharing. I hope that you have a great year. I hope you double all your goals, and thank you so much for sharing with us this evening. Everybody shoot some thank yous in the comments. I see them coming in, but thanks so much. We appreciate you, and everybody have a great night.